As films based on actual events go, the outline of The Great Escape is reasonably faithful to the true story of the mass breakout of prisoners from Stalag Luft 3 in what is now Poland in March 1944. Although a few of the dramatis personae are drawn on real personalities, many are necessary composites in order not to overburden the movie with characters. Roger Bartlett, as played by Richard Attenborough, is perhaps the most accurately drawn, based on a squadron leader Roger Bushell, who did indeed play the leading role in organising the escape. Many of the details of how the civilian clothes and documents were produced are reasonably accurate, although the results in the film are distinctly more accomplished than their real counterparts. The relationship between the Germans and their captives is also well observed and rings true to the reminiscences of the men who were there. However, as is to be expected, there is much in the film that is either sensational, a certain motorcycle chase comes immediately to mind, or simply wrong. The weather is exceptionally fine in the film, whereas at the time it was freezing and thick snow lay around. From a historical point of view, the film contains two great failings. The first is tone. Much of the movie is comic, and although it is this quality that helps to make the film a classic, it does a disservice to the grimness of the real tale. It is in that depiction of the grimness that the second fault lies. The film places too little emphasis on the murders. Not only does it portray the men's executions incorrectly, but The Great Escape, quite necessarily for a jaunty blockbuster, fails to dwell on these killings. This ignores the fundamental fact that it is the execution of the 50 that distinguishes the real story of The Great Escape from the numerous other mass breakouts conducted by Allied POWs from German camps. Ultimately, this is a story as much about a terrible crime as it is about heroism and ingenuity. If this seems willfully mawkish, then it is worth noting that the other mass breakouts, no less great, no less ingenious, have all been forgotten. It is undoubtedly the murders that set this story apart. The purpose of this book is to ascertain the real story behind the escape. Of course, there have been other books about it, not least those by Paul Brickhill, himself a former Kriegie, the POW slang for POW derived from the German for prisoner of war at Stalag Luft 3, who wrote two accounts of the breakout, Escape to Danger in 1946 and The Great Escape in 1951. Both are suitably exciting, but what they lack is objectivity and analysis. Furthermore, as he wrote them shortly after the war, Brickhill was not able to draw upon the vast amount of material contained in archives in Britain, Germany, and the United States. As a result, his books contain many errors, many of which are forgivable, but some of which are clearly the result of needing to make the story commercially appealing. Many of the histories that followed Brickhill's have built upon his somewhat shaky foundations, and as a result, the errors have been magnified and many new ones have been inserted. Previous historians of the escape have relied far too heavily on the book that came before, and, with two exceptions, very little attention has been paid to the wealth of primary sources. Not one of these books offers a fresh perspective, or even raises any pertinent questions. As a result of the clumsy application of too much varnish, the true story of The Great Escape has been almost totally obscured.